Happy birthday, Tree Gelman. Happy birthday, Tree Gelman. Happy birthday, Tree Gelman. Happy Death Day to you. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sitdown. So it seems, I was trying to wish Miss Tree Gelman a nice happy birthday, but I couldn't quite get that to work every time because there's something else about that day that kind of lingers over poor Miss Tree Gelman. If you know what I'm talking about, I mean, I did say the title of the movie already in the song. You should be very excited because we are getting ready to dive in to the second movie in this franchise, and it is a goodie. So pull up a chair, man. Take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-free on Happy Death Day to you. That's right. Of course, Happy Death Day, the first movie, came out about a year and change ago. Led by lead Jessica Rothe. Oh man, what a wonderful surprise that first film was. I was just anticipating, your typical slasher flick with this little twist of it being like Groundhog's Day, where every time she dies, she comes back and has to figure out how to do it correctly. And it is very much like Groundhog's Day. But oh man, I mean, the humor in that movie caught me off guard. The intelligence to what they were doing in that movie caught me off guard. And the acting and the performances were just so good. Jessica Rothe, like I said, the perfect female lead to carry this franchise, man. She is literally the only reason I was psyched for the second one. I was like, when the second one came back, I'm like, I am so excited to watch this girl lose her mind when she finds out that she's in that loop again. Now, if somehow you are not familiar with this movie franchise and you're a horror fan, shame on you. You need to get into this one, man. We'll real quick touch on Happy Death Day, being that it was before the channel. I haven't done a review on it. Maybe I will. But essentially, Jessica Rothe, shared a birthday with her mother. In the first movie, we find out that her mother died, so it's a really difficult day for her while she's at college. And she wakes up after a really rough night the night before. She's late for all sorts of things. And then she gets murdered at the end of it by a serial killer in a giant baby mask, because the baby face is the mascot of the school. And when she gets killed, she wakes up and is right back where she started, and this continues to happen. And the whole movie is just really smart, man. She goes through a bit where she figures it out. So she figures out that I can figure out who it is by checking off suspect names, right? And it becomes this mystery where she's the only one with all of the information because nobody else can remember anything except her. And the whole thing just absolutely brilliant, man. It ends up being spoilers, it ends up being her roommate that is the killer in the movie, and this kind of jealousy she had because Tree was kind of involved with one of their teachers that her roommate Lori was interested in. So it plays this whole thing, just plays out so wonderfully, and then you find out that they're doing a second one, and you're like, wait, how are we gonna get into the second one? And the first trailers kind of gave you this concept of oh crap, it's happening now to her friends, and the person is chasing down and trying to knock them all off. I was like, that is interesting. Also, a little bit of a misdirect, because the movie is not really about the killer hunting down all of her friends one by one. It's one specific friend that the killer is after, and this one actually kind of goes more sci-fi than horror. Needless to say, coming into this movie, there were multiple questions on my mind. How are we doing a second one in the first place? Why is she back? How does she get back into the loop? I'm very happy to say the movie addresses that and explains what's going on, and it actually gives an explanation to what happened in the first movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then, it's but what happens? Then when you find that out, you're like, what happens if, but if you play it out the way that they're going to play it out, then the franchise should be over at that point. And it certainly feels like Universal knows it's on to something here because the first one did so well. I would imagine the second one will probably do not quite as well, but it could do well enough as far as being received if the money isn't there to maybe get a third one. And you figure if you're going to franchise these things, and we know Universal loves to franchise, look at the Fast and the Furious. Everybody loves to franchise. It's just there's so much money in returnability, especially if you have a cast that you really like, which you do here. And then they answer that question, and without spoiling anything, I can tell you They can do a third one. They can do a fourth one. Heck, this franchise could just go down the old slasher flick train of like doing 12, 15, a billion movies, right? I hope that it won't do that. And I hope it continues to just produce really good content. And why Happy Death Day to You isn't quite as good as its original. Oh man, it's really solid. I mean, again, the writing is really, really strong. The humor is fantastic. And Jessica Rothe, give me her all day in these movies. Just the way she performs this role and how she like handles getting back into it and then figuring out how to figure everything out again. And the things she has to do this time versus the last time, I love her performance top to bottom. She's just entertaining to watch. She captures your attention and never lets you let go of it. So I love that, and I love her whole supporting cast. Israel Broussard is back as Carter, and there's a twist to his story that's rather interesting and leads to one of my favorite moments in the movie. One of the ways she decides to kill herself, it all ties up into this wonderful moment, and you're just like, oh, that's so good. It involves a couple of middle fingers and some slow-mo, and it's just wonderful. But again, even though there's a twist to Carter this time, I really enjoy his character. I really enjoy his relationship with Tree. But this time we get to hang out with his one friend and some of that friend's buddies a little bit more as we hang out with Phi Vu, his Ryan fan. Ryan, of course, the guy who opens up the door at the start of every day to reset the cycle after Tree wakes up. This time we get to kind of follow him a little bit more. He's actually the person who relives the day first before it gets passed back off to Tree. And then we kind of get to follow him and his friends, Suraj Sharma, who plays Samar Ghosh, and Sarah Yarkin, who plays Andrea Dre Morgan, as they kind of are building something scientifically at the school that kind of is playing into things that are going on. And I really enjoyed watching that group work together. I thought Ryan's character was elevated in a way that played very, very well, and I really, really enjoyed what Fiyu was doing. And I like that we got more Ryan. I thought he popped a lot, and I really enjoyed what he was doing. And really nice added member to this group of Tree and Carter that was kind of a real foundation in the first movie. But and his buddies too. I like the way that whole story played out. It played very well. Then you have Rachel Matthews is back as Danielle Bausman, kind of the head of the sorority, if you will. She's kind of the HBIC, head bitch in charge, and she has a twist to her character that plays really well. And there's a couple clunky things with her toward the end of the movie, but when she is on screen, oh my gosh, it's very funny. She really upped her game as she got more screen time this time around. Ruby Modine is back as Lori. As I said, everybody's back. Because of what plays and how Laurie's role plays this time around in the movie, really, really interesting. And, ultimately the thing that they're playing with in this movie in general made me go, oh man, this movie just added a comic book element to it. Or if you're a traditional sci-fi type person, it has like a Back to the Future type element to it. And as I said, this movie plays more into the sci-fi. So for that, I was a little disappointed because the horror stuff didn't last as long as I wanted it to. It does play very well. There are some very, familiar type of standard horror sequences in these types of slasher flicks that work, man. They get you to jump a couple times. But then they really lean in hard on the sci-fi the second half of the movie, which is fine. I think it all works. It plays well, and it, like I said, it opens up the ability for this universe to keep coming back time and time again. And why that sci-fi element actually does play better, even though it does disappoint you a little bit. There's one thing that I gotta kind of rip the movie on, and it's the fact that it couldn't capture your imagination the way the first one did as far as the killer goes. I figured out who it was pretty quickly this time, and in the formula in which the movie is delivered, it kind of telegraphs it, whereas the first one really kept you guessing all the way up until the end of the movie. But because of that sci-fi element that I was talking about, the movie kind of goes to some different places that allows it to work, and it doesn't really ultimately matter too much who the killer is this time around. So the fact that it's telegraphed didn't crush the movie for me, but I did figure it out way before, I could have figured it out in the first one. And then that departure from the horror, I was a little disappointed in that because the horror was so good in the first one. But one thing that you do not lose is the comedy is right there with the first one, and the performances are right there. Like I said, you really can't go wrong with Jessica Rothe leading this group because she's excellent. I have become a diehard Jessica Rothe fan. So at the end of the day, Not as good as the first one, but it's hard to do when you have something that's inventive like the first one, and it was so it just captivated your imagination. But for a sequel to a movie that I didn't think you could do a sequel to, I thought they pulled it off pretty well. And this movie is entertaining and enjoyable start to finish. So those are all of my non-spoiler thoughts on Happy Death Day to You. If you were a fan of the first one, you should definitely go check this one out. Just know you're getting a little more sci-fi than horror this time around, but it all works. Don't worry. Now, I want to know what you're thinking, man. Have you gone out to the theater this holiday weekend? It's President's Day. Did you go out and get to check out a Happy Death Day to You? If you did, let me know what you thought down below. Try to keep it spoiler free, but let me know, man. Did you like the twists that this movie had? And there's a bunch of them. Did you like the sci-fi elements? Were you missing some of the horror elements? The differences between the movies. Did you like it or dislike it? Let me know all that down below. If you haven't seen the movie, has the Seaman enticed you? I hope I did, man. Because like I said, these movies are fun and entertaining. You should definitely go check them out if you're a horror fan. So leave all that down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give the old Seaman a thumbs up. And if you're new here, you gotta go hop over and hit that subscribe button, man. We want you over at the Cinema Sitdown Squad. Come join the crew, man. It's a good time. We have a lot of fun at the Cinema Sitdown. If you hit that subscribe button, you can be involved in all of it. And then you hit that little bell right after, you can get alerts every time I make a new video. So there you go, man. Go do those things. Come join the party. Until next time, though, I am the Seaman, and I am signing off. Peace. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. Seaman's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the Seaman goodies, join the Cinema Sitdown Squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.